All right, welcome back to Spooky Happy Hour. I'm your host, Bree, and on this week's episode, I'm joined by a pair of paranormal investigator besties who have gained quite the following on TikTok and YouTube. Welcome, Audrey and Bella. Thanks for being
Hi,
here.
Hi,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thanks for being here. I was initially super shocked to learn that y'all are like right down the highway in
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
yeah, I know. Whenever I saw that you would like post stuff on social media about like Pittsburgh and stuff, I like reached out. I was like, this is like not very common that you see people in the paranormal community being like so close to you. So that was really fun to find out that we're like so close.
Yeah, it's crazy. What are like the best and the worst parts about living near the city?
Driving. I don't like driving. I always make
Driving, that's the worst part. But then there's stuff to do in the city because, like, kind of like our hometown, there's not much to do around here. So it's like anytime we want to do something fun, we always go to the city. So that's like a good perk.
yeah, but I don't like driving. I always make
Yeah,
Bella
yeah,
drive.
Is she the more like aggressive, like get the hell out of my way driver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She loves to like merge, like she'll like go the whole way up like a lane of traffic and like merge in. And I'm just like sitting back there. I'd rather wait like an hour than like merge in front of someone.
Right, definitely have to be the aggressive driver in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I love going in there for like the weekend. I don't know if I could like live downtown or like near the city. I also think my ADHD would be like, let's do a million things. And then
Yes.
like paralysis of like actually what to do, and I'd probably just stay at home.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So a recent video of y'all's came from Point Park University. So what was it like investigating a location that's like highly utilized every day versus some like abandoned location that's been long forgotten?
I think it was a little bit tricky because a lot of the places that we go to, you know, we can watch other creators, see what they got, and kind of like reference that. Also, with like the history, we met with the dean of students, so it was kind of like a little bit different of a process, like with the history and everything. But it was honestly quite like surprising to us that we got as much evidence as we did, especially like whenever anything turns kind of like demonic. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is like kind of like groundbreaking for us, especially since it's like a location that isn't well known. People don't go there and investigate, and it's so close to home. I almost went there, so I'm like, thank God I didn't, because there's a demon in the conference room.
Yeah, yeah.
And is that where you go, Bella, to school?
Oh, no. So I graduated, but I did go to Penn State, though.
Oh, you went to Penn State. Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know if there was more of like a personal thing about like Point Park, because I've had friends that have gone there, too, and just go to hang out. But I would have never suspected that you would have gotten as much activity as you did.
Yeah, I agree. We were surprised the first time our REM pod went off. We were like, we're not going in with like high expectations. And then our
Mhm.
REM pod goes off and we're like,
Yeah.
You're like this right off the bat.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned the word demon too, right? So there's so many really strong feelings about like using that word, but like y'all don't really have a problem using it. So like what are your beliefs about like what makes up a demon?
It's just like honestly, I mean, I guess it depends because everybody has a different religion, but it's like if you're just gonna base it off of just like Christianity or like Catholicism, um, it's just like we usually get responses like it'll be like 666, which is like known to be like a demonic like word or not word, like a
Symbol.
number, like symbol, yeah. And we just get things like that, or things like, oh, like I want to hurt you, or we've had things about like portals and stuff like that. And it's just all indications of like what we think is a demon. And it's like I feel like it's kind of like a popular opinion of like things that we hear is what we just kind of conclude, like, oh, that could be a demon. So that's just kind of like what we believe.
yeah.
Do you ever think that like spirits can like that they know that the word demon might like make somebody run out of the room or like get really scared? Do you think that like ghosts are like intelligent beings that they can like take on those things that scare you? And even if they aren't like maybe say like a demon, they can make us believe that they are.
Yeah. In our last video, we went to a haunted arcade in Ohio, and we were told that there's nothing demonic there. There's nothing that's negative. And we were down in the basement where it's now a speakeasy. It's really cool down there. and it used to be a morgue actually. So there was, during Bella's Estes method, it said demon, and I was like, okay, I know there's nothing demonic here. Like, people have investigated for like years, the ghosts are really friendly. And I said, I think you're just trying to scare us. I think they just want us out of there. So I definitely do think that there's some cases when spirits are like, I'm a demon, just to like chase
Yeah.
us out.
I think sometimes we've encountered like what people call trickster spirits, where it's like whether they're a demon or not, they'll mess with you and they'll act like they are, and when they like couldn't be, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always wonder, like, where's the line, right?
Yeah.
Like, going to so many locations and like experiencing some darker energy, and then like some maybe really friendly energy, or maybe even going to a place where there's a really quiet night and there's like not as much activity. And it's kind of like, do y'all know for you, like, where that line is between like friendly, trickster, dark, and like, holy fuck, this is a demon?
I mean, I think me and Bella, we have like come to this discovery, like since we started investigating, that I'm more sensitive to negative energy and she's more sensitive to like a lot of energy. Like, for example, we went to Beale Manor. All of the spirits there are like children, people who had mental disabilities. So they're not like very harmful. They're not going to hurt you. They're not demonic, anything like that. And she was very affected by it. And I was like having the time of my life. I was like, this isn't like scary at all. Versus we went to Blue Mist Road, which is near Pittsburgh, and there's known to be some quote demonic things there, and I was freaking out. I was having like a panic attack. I was like running back and forth like across the screen. So I think that, I mean, whether or not we really do have like the ability to sense like what a spirit, like their intentions are, I feel like we kind of, you know, can gather it based on the evidence. If the evidence is trying to like scare us out, like there's loud bangs, loud knocks, or on the spirit box we're getting scary words coming through, I think we're able to like just kind of, you know, feel that energy, but also just use the evidence that we are getting to kind of see if it's a trickster, if it's just a normal spirit, or if it is something that's trying to hurt us.
I
Yeah,
also
it's like
I
a
want to
combo of like
Yeah.
what you feel and what you're getting.
Right.
I want to add on some, it's like also believe that even though, say, like how she was talking about Bill Manor, how there's like children spirits known to be there, apparently it's also a known thing that like people could bring spirits, like attachments, like with them, and then like that attachment can like leave and stay at like a location. So it's like I feel like that could be a possibility as well. So it's like, yes, Bill Manor could have been children's spirits, like very innocent. But I remember when I like walked in there, I got like this really like dark feeling, and I've never felt anything like that before. So it could have been like an attachment that somebody left there, but I can't say.
Yeah, it's a good like differentiation to identify, because I had never even really thought of like, you know, if you have like something attached to you personally, that it could just like leave whenever it wanted to, like, you know, like latch onto somebody else or latch onto a location, or maybe even other spirits that are maybe a little bit more like genuine or like honest, you know? So that
Yeah.
is definitely a good indicator, and something to think about too, like when we're talking about theories of like why these things can happen. It's definitely important to note like what kind of personal energy that we bring in, whatever attachments might be with that. Bella, you said that you chickened out at Beale Manor from like the experience that you had in the attic. So it's like, but you want to eventually go back to like confront it. So like what in that instance made you like it be so much more profound than maybe other experiences that you've had?
Well, for starters, I was kind of just on edge all night. I don't know what it was. Like when I just like walked in there, I was just on edge. It just felt so like, I don't know, just it bothered me being in there. But so I was just on edge all night and I was very scared. We got up to the attic and it's like, yes, we've experienced things that were very real and very like physical, like other tapping, other knocking and stuff like that. But we were in the attic and there was just like a little door there. And we heard like, I think, was it like a tapping or scratching?
It was like both. It was like a mixture.
And I immediately was like, that like there's no way this is not real. Like this is so like this is crazy. So then we opened the door to make sure it wasn't like an animal or air or any sort of explanation, and like it just kept happening, and I was just like, there's no way, like I cannot do this right now. Like I already felt like something weird when we walked in, and I was just like, we gotta go because I cannot stay there.
And we asked it to knock on command, or we said like, can you knock twice if there's something in there? And you heard like 2 like taps. And then I think like 5 minutes later we said, can you do it 3 times? And there was like 3 taps. And then I think one of us was like, okay, like that's enough. And we were like, let's leave. So we started packing up our stuff. We're like, let's get out of here. Because when it's intelligent, that's when it kind of starts to get a little bit freaky for me, especially.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't like it when they're intelligent. I like it when they're just like spitting out words like random
more
words.
residual, you know,
Yeah,
like just
I'm
kind
like,
of like
oh my
going
God,
through their everyday life.
yeah.
So is that the line? Like, would you say that's the line for you, or have you like drawn lines previously of like, okay, well, if this happens, I won't do it, and then you kind of like push it and then push it a little further? Like, where are
Um,
your lines currently?
I mean, I think for both of us, when it starts to turn like back to that conversation about like demons and things like that, when it starts to turn to like like signs pointing to something demonic, we're kind of like, okay, like let's pack it up, especially if we're in a location that's known to have something demonic, which we haven't really experienced that yet. But I feel like, I mean, whether or not you believe like possession is real, like demons are real, I think we both kind of believe in that. And we both are like somewhat religious. So it's kind of like staying away from that a little bit is like probably like our top priority. So anything that's demonic, or when it turns demonic, like it wants to hurt us or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Or if one day ever we get something that is very intelligent and very powerful and has like the ability to like, I don't know, like slam a door. Like I would love to see that happen. I hope that happens one day. But if they are like powerful enough to do that, we're out of there.
Yeah.
You're right.
We
Like,
are.
you're like, how are you going to use your power like in the next thing to do? I'm not sticking around
Yeah,
to see it.
exactly.
So being more like religious, like growing up, was this type of stuff like shielded from you? Were you into it like then? Or like how do those maybe cultural beliefs or religious beliefs interact with your fascination with the paranormal?
So growing up for me at least, I went to like a Catholic school and was very Catholic and religious. And I actually remember, and so was my mom, my parents, my whole family was. My mom loved watching Ghost Adventures and she loved that stuff because, well, I feel like everyone finds it really cool, but it's like she never really like I don't think she'd ever do it on her own or go any further than just going to like a public ghost hunt or anything like that. Like I don't think that she would actually like pursue it because I guess technically for like just being Catholic, it may be considered wrong or it is considered wrong, but I think it's just like as a religious person, no matter what religion you are, I feel like if you choose like your way to be close to like your God, then like I don't know how to like explain it. Like if you keep like your own personal relationship with your God intact, then I feel like that God can forgive you for doing this stuff. But it's like we said, we don't want to take it too far. Like we just want to communicate with spirits. We don't want to do rituals. We don't want to do anything with like demons and stuff. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's just kind of like we said, that's where we draw the line. So it's like we don't go too far with it.
Mm. Audrey, what about you? Like, any of you, do you echo those same type of like personal beliefs? Like, as long as you guys are cool with your relationship with who you believe in, then you're cool with going out and doing what you need to.
Yeah, I would say that what Bella said is pretty much my story as well. I mean, I did grow up going to church and everything like that, not so much anymore, but my family has always been into like ghosts and things like that. My house is haunted that I grew up in. In this room, actually, a troll doll was thrown across the room. So it just kind of like it's hard to like, not be into ghost hunting when you grew up in a haunted house. So just like what Bella
Yeah.
said, just like staying close to like your faith and everything. And yeah.
How does like growing up in a haunted house, and when you're growing up you're learning about the world,
Yeah.
right, by your experiences around you, and those are pretty rare experiences. They aren't just like you can go to Timmy in third grade and like share chips out of his lunchbox and be like, hey, did your ghost like play with you? Did they throw your doll around last night? Like that's not a everyday occurrence. So were you able to talk about it with like friends or family growing up, or was it something that was like, shh, don't tell anybody that this happens at our house?
Yeah, I mean, I never talked about it only because it was like my parents that experienced most of it. My dad experienced a lot of it. So it was kind of like hearing stories from him. My first experience was having that troll doll like thrown across. Like it was on like my headboard and it just like ended up at the end of my bed when I was just standing in the corner. So I mean, I never really like told those stories because if you go to school and tell someone the troll doll was thrown across the room, they're gonna be like, okay, someone get this girl in a hospital or something like that. Expert
Right?
or something like
Where's the school psychologist? Like,
yeah,
she needs an
literally.
appointment.
So I never talked about it. I mean, and then, once like my family started experiencing stuff too, it was like we just all kind of like shared it together. And I have a big family, so we've all had like ghost experiences. So it was kind of just like talking amongst the family and things like that. And then when me and Bella became friends, I was like, when we started talking about going ghost hunting, I was like, let me just tell you all these experiences that I've had. So,
Do
so
you
yeah,
think that it gives you like a certain like edge or advantage going into a place?
no. I think I'm equally as scared because I mean, I never I never like communicated with the spirits here. I never like tried to be like, I would hear something, I wouldn't be like, can you do that again? I'd be like running. I did one time. I left my house, and at the time I didn't have my license, and I'm walking on like the road. I'm like calling my family. I'm like, someone come pick me up. I'm not even kidding you. It actually happened.
Jeez.
So
Wow.
so definitely no. I mean, it's just the same.
I feel like for me, I mean, I didn't really experience anything paranormal in my house growing up, but I was very like obsessed with doing scary stuff, going to like haunted houses. And like I said, my mom, like she took us, me and my sister, I was like, I think 9, my sister was like 11, to West Virginia Penitentiary, to like their haunted house. And it's like, I've just been doing scary stuff and watching like scary movies. It's just anything scary from like a young age. So it's like, for me, the only advantage I have for doing this is just not really being scared as much. But I feel like the more places we go to, I get a little bit more scared at first, not so much. But I feel like I'm kind of grounded between us two compared.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You need that in a partnership, right? Like somebody who can just be like, all right, let's calm down, let's take it down,
Yeah.
and sees things as like cool, calm, and collected. And then the other person, like, it's kind of like
Yeah.
that emotional meter, right? Like if you know
Yep.
somebody's up here, you're like, gotta bring them down. But it's nice to have that. It's like good to complement each other like that.
No, I agree. Because if we didn't have that, our videos would be like 10 minutes because something would happen. I'd be like, okay, everyone, let's go. So it's good. It's good.
Is there a place that is kind of on your bucket list in terms of like scare factor where you're like, okay, once we get to a certain part, then we can go to that place?
There's a lot of places. I mean, like, well, I know there's like controversy right now about like the Conjuring house, but I would love to go there at some point. But also, we also really want to go to like the Stanley Hotel and the Queen Mary, which are just across the country. So we'll eventually get there. But also things like the Lizzie Borden house and I don't know what are some other places like.
Oh, what's that one house? It's like called like the demon house or something. I forget what it's called.
Like
Maybe
the Garnet House?
yes.
Garden House,
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one would probably scare me so bad. Oh my gosh. I can't even think about it right now. I think I need like a good like 2 years experience under my belt before I can like go into like serious places like that.
Well, that's how I feel about like that's how I felt about Crescent because I had gone to Crescent a couple. I don't know, I guess it was a couple weeks ago now, and like had the scariest like experience of our lives. We investigated for like 30 minutes. Like we spent more time getting like B-roll and like getting a tour than we had like actually investigating, and like we had to leave.
Oh my
And we've been to like hundreds of locations, it feels like, so it's like, and I had been there in November and didn't have a single of the same feeling or any really experiences. So it's definitely one of those things, like you were saying though, that like, oh man, I wish that I would have maybe been a little bit more prepared for whatever it was that like, we had found there. And I think that that's a good thing to note too, because I think some people go in with no preparation to some of these places. And for me, like my belief is that like if you're open to some of that and you're communicating with them, but you haven't prepared, like you should then prepare to take whatever home with you.
Right.
So, like, do you guys do anything in terms of like preparation before you go? Whether it's like say a prayer, just have like positive thoughts, or have a crystal, or I don't know, anything like that?
I keep my rosary in my bag that we have just in case anything gets a little crazy. But other than that, we don't do anything. We're like over here, like, yes, like we're
We really
religious,
sh- we
we're
really should.
religious, but we don't do anything.
We should. We really should.
Yeah.
Has anything ever come home with you guys, or like like do you ever feel like something's attached to you?
Yeah. So after our video at Hotel Conneaut up in Lake Erie, we we were getting like responses from a spirit that we think we were talking to named John, and he's a protector spirit of the hotel and everything. And there was during my Estes, it was saying that it wanted me to stay there forever, it didn't want me to leave. So I was like, well, this isn't a or a good thing happening at all. So basically what happened was the next morning, like after like we came home and stuff, I like fell asleep because we got home like really early in the morning. I fell asleep and I heard like someone walking outside of my room, and I thought that my dad might have been home from work or something, and I opened up the door and nobody was there. So that was like my first indication that something might have followed me home. And then during other investigations, we would ask, did someone follow us from like this location. We got a yes for Hotel Conneaut, and then we got the name John, I think like 2 or 3 times. So, but I don't think he's with us anymore, which I'm kind of sad about, because I honestly felt like he was like protecting us, because he is
I
like
was gonna say, like, that protector role, like maybe it just switched, kind of like how your
Mhm.
theory, Bella, was like, well, maybe like attachments can just kind of jump, you know? So maybe it just jumped to you to like protect you for the time being.
Yeah.
But you said you don't think that it's here anymore. So was it something that like you think just kind of like he got bored and like decided to go
Yeah.
somewhere else, or
Yeah, I always say, I'm kind of offended. Like he didn't think I was like cool enough to stick around. He just left.
well, it's funny because like there are like just because you have maybe an attachment doesn't always mean like a darker type
Right.
thing, you know? Like
Yeah.
I have a I had a best friend, my son's actually named after him, but he had died in a car accident. This will be like 11 years ago now. And I'd went to a medium for the first time. I call her my spiritual advisor now. She hates that I call her that, but I do. And she has mediumship abilities. And I was like, hey, maybe I should like book a mediumship appointment with you. And she was like, oh yeah. She's like, he's there. And like, who's this guy? And she like totally like took him down to a T. So I knew who she was talking about. And she
Yeah.
was like, yeah, he said that like he goes and like kind of protects you in these places. He like looked at me and was like, dude, I'm exhausted. Like we've been going a lot. And I was like, oh, like I had no idea. He's like, some places are really cool though. So it's kind of like fun to know that like he's there. And I think for me anyway, like when I go on investigations, I can just like have a little thought or like say something to him like, oh man, dude, like this room, like we're feeling
This
gross in
is-
here, right? Like send me a sign if like I need to get out of this room, you know?
Yeah.
That's funny.
But it's nice to have like a protector, you know, looking over you. But
Yeah.
you know, now that he's gone, you're screwed.
Jeez, what the heck? Like,
I know. I'm sorry.
and and you have a hot take though on cryptids, right? Like Audrey believes that like cryptids are real and there's like portals in certain places in the world where they can travel to quickly. So where do you think would be like a perfect place for one of these portals to be?
Appalachian Mountains.
Probably would be a good one.
Yeah, because this like all started because I was watching a Bigfoot documentary, like as one does, just in their free time, and and there was like this theory that they were talking about how they think there's like different like portals that like lead to different dimensions, and I'm like, that's actually a really good theory because you never see cryptids like in the same like location. They're like all over like the world, especially well with Bigfoot, he's like everywhere. So
Mhm.
so
Yeah, they
I'm
all have different names for them and different like
yeah,
cultures and whatnot.
yeah. So I think Appalachian Mountains, terrifying.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, and I was gonna say there's probably lots of other things in there that we want to
Yeah,
find that's like
yeah,
not paranormal or anything. I feel like Wrong Turn just like is the movie that comes to my brain to
yep,
kind of
exactly.
explain what I think probably goes on in the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah, yeah, stand far away from those.
Right? If you were, I always ask, well, not always ask this question, but I always want to, and I don't ever until right now. What cryptid would you be if you were a cryptid? Which one would you be?
Mothman.
She loves a Mothman. Oh,
She's like,
God.
I've been thinking about this for my whole life, and I know
I
my
have
answer.
been. I always like he can just fly, and he can fly like anywhere, and he has like those red eyes. I think those are like pretty cool. And he has abs. Have you ever seen the statue of him?
Oh my gosh, the one in West Virginia? No, I've seen it. I've never been like there, but I've
Me
seen the
neither. I've
picture of
seen
it.
pictures of it. Yeah, he has like a 6-pack, and I'm like,
You're like, I'm gonna be buff and scary.
yeah, exactly.
What about you, Bella? You have a cryptid in mind?
What are some cryptids? Because I literally don't like. I don't know.
I feel like you'd be like the Loch Ness monster.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
I feel like the Loch Ness monster is like sneaky and slithering, like kind of like creeps up on you. Like you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's Bella.
I always say I would be the squonk mostly because I also like don't really like get into the cryptid stuff. But as soon as I figured out that like Johnstown, like 15 minutes away from me, has its own freaking cryptid and their own cryptid convention, it's like the ugliest little creature,
I'll look
and
at
I love
one.
it.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that once on like my Instagram, like for you feed or whatever it's called on Instagram. And I was like, what in the heck is this? And I looked it up and I was like, what? I
I
was
know
like,
it's like this
one day just put two
pig
things together.
with all these like he's just crying and crying, and it's like he's such a sad little creature, and it's like if he looks at himself in the mirror, he's just so ugly, so he cries, and then he like
Oh no,
Aw.
I didn't know about this
he,
part.
Aw.
he literally just like then like evaporates into a pool of his own tears.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know the whole story behind this. It's a
Oh
sad
yeah.
little creature.
He is a sad little creature. He's a little ugly too, and he knows it. So it's
Mm.
like I don't know why, but I'm like I don't know if it's just like the hometown one or the fact that his
Yeah.
story is so sad. But I would maybe want to be his squonk bestie and pat him on the back
Yeah.
when he's sad or something.
Yeah, be his hype man. It's okay, Squawk. Squawk.
Right, little squonk. I'm gonna call my dog that if I ever get one. Squonk.
That's so
Um,
funny.
so being in like the YouTube paranormal world, how different is it now, like throwing your stuff out there? Putting yourself out there for everyone else to see versus like maybe just doing it together to have fun.
Like, I don't know, like what, like can you reword like the question?
For
Please.
sure. Like when I talk to other like content creator friends, right? And they're like, ugh, the YouTube algorithm, the editing, there's stuff I can and can't say. Sometimes I have to like censor myself and like sometimes it doesn't feel almost as genuine like when you're doing it. Not saying that anybody's like faking an experience, but sometimes it's like that extra piece of like of your mind that has to exist over here because you're filming for YouTube rather than just like when you're exploring. Do you guys like get any of that at all, or do you just like, nope, this is our genuine authentic thing and I'm just throwing it up there for whoever wants to watch it?
I mean, like I feel like, well, first off, we've definitely had problems with like the YouTube algorithm. And then yeah, there also is like if you're mentioning like things like that we have to hold back from saying like yes, that as well. I mean, like
It's like an added like stressor, I think, that like we kind of have to like watch like what we're saying, like what we're doing and things like that. But also like the fact like we're not just going to a location just to, like investigate. Like we have to like bring our cameras, we have to like make sure we have like a Google Doc for everything to make sure we do our intro, do our B-roll, take pictures, do all of these things. So I feel like it's like an added stressor that we are filming for YouTube. We have to make sure that we're getting content that's good, that like makes sense, and just like keeping like sometimes we keep with like a theme to kind of keep it on track rather than like just having like random responses, kind of like making a story and things like that. So I think, for the most part, I mean, it's like I said, an added stressor that like we can't just go here and like do this for fun. I mean, it is still fun for us and like we try to like be entertaining and like just be ourselves like on like our YouTube channel and things like that. But I mean, versus just like going and doing an investigation, it is like a little bit more like tedious. Like you have to like make sure you're doing like everything to make it entertaining because you are like going to edit it to put it on a platform.
I think like other YouTubers definitely have it like easier, like just normal, like I guess lifestyle creators that they can just go and like do whatever and like people will like watch that. And it's like ours is like ghost hunting. So it's like we have to keep up with like certain stuff. But then at the same time, we also have to be like entertaining too, because it's like you want to make sure that people like can get a like laugh out of it and it's not like completely serious like the whole time too.
Yeah, you want to bring the fun side of it, but also like the serious side and to be authentic. But yeah, it's like an added extra stressor saying like, oh, did we film this part? Did we get enough B-roll? Like, is the episode going to be 30 minutes versus an hour or whatnot? So like, do you think that any of it, like, how do you manage all of that aside from like the practical stuff, like a Google Doc and whatever, but like emotionally and mentally, like how do you take care of yourself so that you can still have fun, but also put out a product that you can be proud of?
I mean, I think it's easier that like we do this together because we can kind of like rely on each other a lot. I feel like if it was just like one person or if like we weren't like really good friends, I feel like it might be a little bit more difficult. But like we've been friends for so long, I feel like if we're ever like, trying to film something and we're just like feeling stressed or like we have a new idea or we want to just scrap something completely. There's been a video that we just completely scrapped because it was just terrible. It was just really bad. And like I think just like us being good friends really helps us a lot with kind of just like the stressor of it as well. But like also just like trying to make it fun and everything. I feel like, we always tell people like on our live streams, they're always like, how are you guys such good friends? We've like never fought once in our like 7 years of friendship. And it's like, cause we're just like the same person. We're always on the same
Pretty
page.
impressive.
We're like literally the same exact person. So I feel like just having each other kind of really helps with that a
Just
lot.
put some K-pop on and dance
Yeah!
or something.
I feel like we work very well together because like you said earlier, it's good to have like a good balance between certain things and like a friendship, but it's also like with the filming aspect, I feel like if we ever forget anything, it's like I remember some things and then she remembers some different things, and it works out perfectly. So
Yeah.
it's like we cannot complain at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that complementing each other that works really well. And you're not afraid to like scrap something if that's not something that's going to represent the best that
Yeah.
you want to put out there.
Right.
And I do think that like some content creators have a little bit of an easier time than others. And I'm just wondering, like, do you notice any differences in ways that maybe like you're treated compared to male counterparts?
Yeah. Uh, I mean, I feel like our very first video that we ever did, half the comments were about like the way that we looked and saying like, don't worry about your makeup, don't worry about your hair. And I'm like, okay, well, my bangs are flying up. I'm gonna fix them. I'm not gonna just have like 2 strands of hair in front of my face. That's like someone like commented that. And I mean, just like about that. And then like people criticizing us. There's been this one creator that has been like just commenting paragraphs on all of our videos since like our very first one. I mean, they have stopped now because like we finally just like we're like, okay, you need to stop this. Like we finally like talked back to them about it. But I mean, I definitely feel like it's a lot more. I mean, I think it bothers me. I don't know if it bothers Bella as much, but I feel like it bothers me a lot more whenever the comments are more about like the way that we look and like our makeup and you know, not like just complimenting it like, oh, like you don't need to wear all that makeup. Like that was a comment that we got and I was like, are you kidding me? Like this is the way that I look, and if you don't like it, click off the video.
Yeah, I'm sure like
Right.
people may mean like good by that, but it's just like at the same time, it's just it can be perceived different ways. So
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like they could have been it could have been completely innocent at the same time. But I mean, I don't know, like I just have this like attitude sometimes. I just like don't care like
Yeah.
what people think. So it doesn't really bother me. I think what would bother me if someone said something negative like about my makeup and was like, "Oh, your like makeup
Yeah.
looks bad or something looks bad." Then I would be like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
hate."
Well, hey there. Yeah, because I feel like I'm lucky. I think as well as Bella, like I genuinely like I don't care what like people think about me. Like I like the way that I look. I like the way that like we do things on YouTube, on social media. Like I think we're confident enough in ourselves that like we don't let those comments get to us. So I feel like I'm grateful for that. And like also if I did have a comment that like bothered me, like I could talk to Bella about it. Like same with her. So it's like, I mean, at the beginning it kind of did bother me a little bit, but now I'm like, you know what? I don't care because you're
Now
commenting.
it's more like
You're doing this
expect
review.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's like you're helping the algorithm. Go ahead, comment
Yeah,
however many
exactly.
things
Go
that you
ahead.
want.
We kind of have this mindset like if someone's just being hateful or whatever for like no reason at all, we just say like, okay, well if they're just giving us hate and we didn't do anything to them, then maybe they're like unhappy with themselves or maybe they're just having a bad day or something along the lines of that, and we just don't let it bother us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like put it back on them and then you just go back to doing the stuff that you love to do.
Yeah, because I believe in karma. So I'm like, we're just doing what we're doing. We're always like putting positive energy out there. If they want to put negative energy out there, then it's gonna come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Do you like with other content creators that you've like collaborated with, like Kalani and Savannah, you know, like how does collaborating like what does that mean to you and do you get out of those experiences that might be different when it's just the two of you?
So I mean, the first thing that like matters to us is like we just love making new friends. So like it's collaborating to us means like we get to make new friends and like connections, and it's just really fun to meet new people like in this realm. But then also it's nice to like for the marketing aspect, since Kalani has a bigger following than us, it's nice for us to be exposed to his following and then like vice versa, even though we don't have much to give with our following. But it's like you never know. I mean, I didn't hear of Kalani until shortly before our collaboration. So it's like some people from our fandom might have went over there. But it's just I think for us it's just like nice to be able to make new friends in like this realm.
And I think since he's like really experienced in this like field, we like learned so much from him. Like he had like devices that we were like researching. Like as soon as we got back to the hotel, we were like, okay, like what's this device like we want? And like just seeing like the way they conduct things, like the questions that they ask. One thing that we struggle with is asking questions like to the spirits. They had like so many good questions that I was like, okay, I'm gonna steal these and use them in our next video, which I have. But they're like more, I think, just like educated on like different theories and things like that. So it was just really cool to like see them and see how they do things. So.
I feel like we did learn a lot from that collaboration. We took like a lot of pointers from there, and I feel like it has helped us since. So
yeah, Yeah, and I like that you can take it away, like everything away from your experiences and then use them to grow. Because if we're not doing that, then like what's kind of the point?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Like we can go to the same locations, like or the same types of location, ask the same type of questions, but at some point in time, like I'm sure you're left with like, well, what else can we do? Or like what more can we do to change to get more of the evidence that we want? Um, so you guys go under Estes a lot, which I love the Estes method. I
Yeah.
think that like it's the coolest thing because like when you get something that really like is relevant and you can start to put stuff together, I really don't think that there's anything that can really debunk that,
Yeah,
right?
that's what
Like you've
mhm.
already had the debunking there in the process. Like you don't have to do it anymore. So
Right.
what would you say is like the best type of evidence or like your most profound experience when you're going under Estes?
I remember at Madison Seminary, whenever we were filming with Kalani, but this was before he got there. There's this one room, and it's called the Hole, where someone supposedly had like buried a baby or like something had happened. They found like a phantom anomaly, and I was asking questions, and Bella's boyfriend Max was there as well. And so we were asking Bella questions. She was under Estes, and it was like probably the longest Estes that we ever did. I think it went like 30 minutes, and I like kept basically all of it in the video because it all was connecting, and it was telling a story. It was saying at one point, it was like I fell, hit my head. It kept saying like like it was falling. And then there was one point, and we also heard footsteps like coming from the hall behind us. So we were like, okay, something's like here with us. And then there was a point when it like started mimicking me, which was like terrifying. But she said something that was like, I forget exactly what it was, but she said something that like was like, oh my gosh, like we're actually like having a conversation with a spirit right now. And I remember looking at Max and I was like, oh, shut up. And then immediately she went, shut up. And I was like, oh my God. And then
You're like,
I
what
remember
is this?
I remember it was saying, it was behind me, and then it said window, like I see you, and there was a window right behind me. And then it was so creepy. I was like, if Max wasn't there, I would have like gotten Bella out in like a second. I was so scared. But when it copied what I said, it has never done that before. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it was
Terrifying. Because I
yeah,
mean, like, you never know what's gonna come out of that. And
yeah,
like when you're under, it's like random, right? Like you have no idea if whatever is you're saying is making sense. But then when you come out of it and people react like, oh my gosh, you can't believe it, it's like it's surprising. And I kind of like that in that
yeah.
factor.
I think that the surprise factor of it is really, really exciting, but also really creepy because you never
Yeah.
know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a toss up, super unpredictable. I
Yeah.
remember it like coming out once and I had like maybe 3 or 4 words that I was just like normal everyday like stuff. So I was like, well, this sucked. And I come out and like everyone around me is like crying. And
Oh
I'm like,
my gosh.
what is happening? And I think there was like
People,
5 of us like
yeah.
girls there. I'm like what just happened? And they were like, well, you said like, we were trying to figure out like the woman spirit up here, like why she's so sad. And like, your responses of like hurt, like hook, all this other stuff. Like we put a story together and like this woman died from like a botched abortion. And
Oh
we
my
all just got like
gosh.
really sad about it. I actually just got chills as I said it. But like you never like 3 words, right? Under for like 20 minutes. And I think like it was a dumb session, right? Like, didn't get anything. Like they didn't want to talk to me. And then I get out and it's this big thing. So
Mhm.
it's so crazy. I think that whenever you have no idea. And that's kind of the whole point, right? Of Estes is like you can't see anything, you can only hear what you can hear, and you don't really know what's going on around you. So you can't impact the environment that much.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. I love the Estes. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you guys really like to do when you get to a location or a new experiment that you'd want to try in the future?
I think, I mean, the only thing that I can think of is we really like oh, what's it called? The ovulus or
Oculus,
something.
yeah.
I mean the ovulus, but also that oh, what's that thing that like makes that clicking noise? It's like ding ding and it says like a word or something. I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah.
But I like things that make noise, like music or like creepy things, because it's like you'll be in one room and you'll hear it like go off like the whole way down the hall. And
Like a music box or something,
yeah,
or the REM pod.
yeah, and you'll
Yeah.
just hear like music boxes.
Yeah.
Besides like equipment stuff, I mean, I feel like there's so many different things that people do. I mean, Ouija boards, never. Never Ouija boards. I feel like honestly, I feel like a part of me like wants to try it, but then I'm like, I really don't want to try it.
It's kind of pushing those boundaries that you talked about earlier, right? Like if this is what
Yeah.
I believe or this is what I know it to be, like do I
Mhm.
really want to dabble?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I mean, other than that, I feel like Estes is like our favorite right now. We started recently doing the dual Estes,
Mhm.
So kind of like seeing if there's any connection like with that, because that's like, Estes is kind of like you're already debunking it. Like this can't be like something that you're making up. But then like dual Estes, when things start to like make sense, it was making sense at Beale Manor. We did dual Estes, and it's like, okay, this is like double debunked.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's nothing that could impact that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Bella, your boyfriend Max comes a lot. So, like, how does he fit into the whole situation?
Well, sometimes he comes and helps us investigate, but recently, because we're gaining just like more of a following, we kind of realized like that we haven't been filming just us because we just get way too scared. And well, the channel's called Audrey and Bella, so it's like we need to stick to that. So I think that he's gonna stick around, join us sometimes, maybe sometimes not, even help us with like equipment, like being like the cameraman or just helping us out just in general, or just being there if we're like scared. But yeah, he's actually coming with us this Saturday. We're going somewhere. So, and it's for a collaboration. So we're excited.
Nice. So
Yeah.
he's like emotional and technical support.
Yeah. And it's just like, I mean, he doesn't like, he's like, you guys do your thing. Like he's very like supportive of it. And then he's just like, sometimes he's like, oh, like I really want to come to this one. It's like we don't ever have an issue. Like he's always invited. It's just kind of up to him now. He just says that he wants to just sometimes come to like the cooler locations, like I don't want to like I don't want to
can't say.
yeah, I don't want to say where we're going.
Yeah, no problem. I totally get that. And for safety reasons too, right? Like just want
Yeah.
to keep it under wraps until after you go.
Yes.
Any upcoming projects, episodes, or locations that you can talk about?
I mean, we can't.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Sometime in the next couple months, we are going to the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah. There's
That's
something
awesome.
I want to mention, but we can't yet.
You guys can just let me know like afterwards, and I will put it out there to the world.
Yeah, so we're excited to go there. Yeah.
What I want to mention is something that's going to be, I think, really good for our channel. It's going to give us a lot of exposure. I cannot say what it is yet.
I'm just good things are coming, right? Like so many good things are coming, and people need to
we have
stay
a
tuned
lot
because good stuff's coming.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have a lot of good stuff planned for this year. I feel like this year is going to be really good for our channel. I'm hoping that we gain more of a following and connect with our community more, and just we have a lot of collaborations coming up, and I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah, and there's so many like learning opportunities with those collaborations, and I'm sure that it'll just take, your channel to the next level.
Yeah.
So the next section, the final section, is time for concoctions and conundrums. So I asked my viewers, like, what can you come up with? These are deeper discussion questions, would you rather questions, and we're gonna do 3 rounds. So you both will pick a number, and then I will too, and we'll all answer it. So I have 13 new numbers. So Audrey, can you pick one between 1 and 13?
7.
Have you ever gone to a psychic or a medium, and how would you describe your experience?
So recently, we just filmed with our friend Will from WTCW Paranormal, and on his team, he actually has a psychic. Her name's Brittany, and in the car, because she was like, I don't want to do this reading on you guys when we're at the location that we were at, because she's like, it's going to interfere too much. She did give me a reading. And I've always wanted to go to one because my aunt had gone to one, and it was kind of weird because the only message that she really got like for the family was directly to me. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I kind of want to like experience it for myself. So she read like our energies, like she like can visualize it and like see like what our energies look like. And she said mine's red roses. So I was like, that's pretty cool. And then she said that I have like a spirit guide. My spirit guide is like showing herself as a girl. She's like mystical looking, and she has long black hair. And I was like, is it me? Is it me? I'm like my own spirit guide.
Yeah.
So she said that she gives like grandmother energy, which would make sense because both of my grandmothers have passed away, and that she just looks mystical and things like that. And then she just kind of talked about like, I mean, I didn't give her like I wanted to give her a specific situation to talk about, but I couldn't because like Bella was there, Will was there. I was like, I need some privacy.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, no, but she just basically said that like in any situation, like I'm more independent, and I don't like to talk about like things too much. I just kind of like to do them on my own and then talk about like the effects after and things like that. But yeah, so that was like my most recent. That's crazy that I got that because that just happened like a week ago.
Yeah, that is crazy. And actually, right before you said the number, I said the number in my brain and I looked at that number and then you said it and then it was that. And I was like, okay, I don't know like what it is, but since the summer, which is probably when I like upped my investigating to like at least 2 a month,
Mhm.
that like just I'll have a thought in my brain and then it comes on. Like I might be thinking about like a random commercial that I saw like last week and then 2 commercials later it'll be on there. Or I'll
Yeah.
think of like, "Oh man, I haven't like, heard from so and so friend in a while. Like I should really call them." And then like 2 minutes later they're calling me on the phone.
Mhm.
And so it's just so funny that like it just keeps happening to me and I'm like, I don't know what has happened in the
Yeah.
last like,
Mhm.
almost year, but yeah, that it's crazy.
Maybe you're psychic. Maybe you're like developing the abilities.
It's funny because have you ever heard of human design?
Mm-mm.
No.
So it's like a theory where it combines 5 different other elements like the Chinese divination check, like the I Ching, astrology, chakras, quantum physics, all this stuff, and it basically gives you like a body graph, and it tells you what your energy type is. There's like 5 of them, and based on your energy type, it's pretty much like your blueprint of how to interact with the world around you and yourself, and just kind of like really understand yourself a little bit better. And ever since I had a reading for my human design chart and now I'm going to be like a human design reader, like I'm studying to do that now. A lot of stuff in my birth chart for astrology and my human design are all about my life theme of like opening up my spiritual gifts.
Oh,
And I
that's
like just
cool.
didn't know that that was like a thing. And my vertex is in Jupiter in my astrology chart, and it says that like there's an intense connection and need to study the occult. And I was like, I wish I would have known this so long ago. Like I'm 34. So it's like I wish I would have known this so long ago because I felt like I missed out on like so much stuff, but I never would have known any of that if I hadn't had experiences like you did where someone's like, I got a reading and like, oh, here are your spirit guides. And then so I guess like as a follow-up, after you've had that, like have you thought like, oh man, I need to look into this more, or I want to know who that spirit guide is, or I want to know what that message really meant? Like, do you come back to it often in your brain?
Yeah, because also I forgot about this part. She was doing then a reading on our friend and she said something about like a god or a goddess. Wait, what was it called? I forget what it was. Like a god or a goddess or something that's like on his spirit team. And I said the only one that I know of is Hecate or something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but she's like a goddess of witchcraft. And she said that's weird that you say that because she came up in my head whenever like she was doing the reading on me, but she said she didn't say it because like she knew like my views and stuff. And I was like, well, that's kind of creepy. So I've been like thinking about that. And also like a couple of months ago, I kept getting that goddess of witchcraft on my TikTok for you page. And I'm like sending them all to Bella. I'm like, what does this mean? And then like this kind of like came full circle. But I mean, I also I told my family about it, and every single person in my family thought that it was my one grandma, my dad's mom. So because she had black hair as well, and I was like, okay, like there's a lot of possibilities. So I'm just kind of like, I want to go to another one to kind of see if they get the same thing or any more like information about that. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's pretty
I
cool.
met my spirit guides through a hypnotherapy. I went to a past life regressionist
Oh my gosh,
Cool.
and
I've seen that.
it was awesome. Like I keep having like the same recurring dream, or I did anyway. And I was like, I need to go. So I went to this person was like highly recommended by like my spiritual advisor, figured out one of my past lives. But in my hypnotherapy, like right before the end of it, like I had these 3 women that came up from behind me as like a kind of like a protective force, and they had this like a green gem and they just like shoved it into me, like I could feel like it go like into me and like shoved it into me, and for whatever reason it kind of like glowed, and like after that I never had that recurring dream. I've had that recurring dream since I was 9 and I've
Oh my
never had it after that.
Ooh, I got chills. That's creepy.
Yeah, it was
That's
crazy. So it's
awesome.
like, the more and more I'm sure that like you meet other people who have like gifts and like more about yourself, like it's hard to just like kind of shut that part of your brain off then without wanting to know more.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm excited. I hope that you keep me updated on if you do go back, or if you like,
Yeah,
find somebody else, or because
yeah.
those stories are
I
really
will.
cool and like very
Mhm.
impactful in people's lives.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll let you know.
Cool. Bella, what's your number 1 through 13?
I'm gonna pick 3.
3. Do you think that dreams have clues or messages?
Yeah, yes, I do. There has been so many times where I like had a dream and like I feel like it kind of came true or it's just like something similar happened and I mean like I do think that like they mean something. Like they could be warnings or they could be showing you the future or someone could be manifesting you if you're dreaming about someone. Like I've heard that before as well. It's just like it's random and it's always random, but like I've also learned like if I'm thinking about something before bed because I've tested it a couple times, like if I'm thinking about something or like a situation or something and then like right before bed and I sleep, sometimes I can like forcefully like dream about that, which I don't know if that's like
Mm.
if people can do that or not because it's like people just I'm sure people don't really think to do that, but it's like I have done that before where I was like unintentionally thinking about something before bed and I ended up dreaming about that. So I was like testing it and then it like continued to work and it's like I don't really care to do it now, but I thought that, that was interesting that it did happen though.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like so my day job is that I'm a therapist. I've been a licensed professional counselor for like 10 years. And something that I do with my trauma clients, especially if they have nightmares about like their trauma or they just like have sleep disturbances and don't want to go to bed, is that there is research and studies out there that say like if you can use imagery before you go to sleep, that you might even be able to, recreate dreams. So it's like if you have a dream that's traumatic or based off of an event that was scary, you can actually like visualize it ahead of time before you go to sleep and then change the ending or change the middle, change whatever it is in there that like keeps giving you all this distress. And if you do it enough, then sometimes whenever you dream it can translate to when you're unconscious and dreaming and in REM sleep. So I
Yeah.
definitely think that like all of the energy that you put into that it can for sure make a difference.
I think so too, yeah. I think that you can definitely like control your dreams even in the slightest if you try to. If people care to, I think you can. I think there's so many things that like you can do with your mind that like people don't realize or like people like just don't put the energy into like trying to figure out.
Yeah, I want to do like astral projection so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
want
I'm
to
like
do.
afraid I won't come back to my freaking body or something. My consciousness will be like stuck out
Yeah.
there somewhere. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know enough about it. It's like one of those people
Mhm.
that like I have to absolutely like research deep dive until I know everything that like I feel like there is to know, and then I can go do the thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's how I feel too, for sure.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about in the future when you all go to these secret locations that none of us can know about right now, but are
Yes.
definitely looking forward to. And when you have other people that you collaborate with and people that have other gifts that I'm sure will also bring out yours.
Mhm.
So thank you guys so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Yes,
Yes, thank
thank
you for
you.
having us.
Absolutely. And for all of you listening or watching, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell to be alerted of future episodes that happen here every Thursday. All the links will be posted in the description, so head over to YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok to follow their journey. Until next time, guys, cheers.
Bye.